It used to be simple. You saw a price, and that's what you paid. Maybe taxes were added at the end, maybe a tip. But beyond that, the number you saw was the number you expected. But now, something has clearly changed. You book a hotel, there's a resort fee. You order food, there's a service charge. You buy a ticket, there's a processing fee. You check out online, there's a convenience fee. Surcharges are suddenly everywhere in America. And the strange part is, they didn't just appear randomly. They're the result of a deeper shift happening inside how businesses price, operate, and protect their margins. So the real question is, why now? Because this isn't just about companies adding extra fees. It's about a new pricing strategy taking hold across the economy. Let's start with the biggest driver: cost pressure. Over the past few years, businesses have faced rising costs across almost every category. Labor is more expensive, materials cost more, energy prices fluctuate, shipping and logistics have become less predictable. So businesses are under pressure. But here's the problem. They can't always just raise their base prices, because when customers see a higher price up front, they react immediately. They compare, they hesitate, they sometimes walk away. So instead of increasing the main price, businesses are finding another way. They're adding surcharges, because psychologically, it feels different. A $20 product feels more acceptable than a $23 product, even if you end up paying the same amount after fees. That's the first big reason surcharges are everywhere. They allow businesses to increase revenue without triggering the same level of resistance. Now here's where it gets more strategic. Surcharges give companies flexibility. Instead of permanently raising prices, they can adjust fees as conditions change. If costs go up, they increase the surcharge. If costs stabilize, they can reduce it. That's much harder to do with base pricing, because once you raise a base price, lowering it later can hurt perception. Customers don't like seeing prices go up and down, but they tolerate fees more easily, so surcharges become a kind of adjustable layer on top of pricing. Now let's talk about transparency, or lack of it. One reason surcharges have spread so quickly is that they allow businesses to separate the headline price from the real price. The headline price gets you in the door. The surcharges are added later. This is especially common in industries like travel, entertainment, and online services. Airlines have been doing this for years. Base fare looks low. Then you add baggage fees, seat selection, and other charges. Now that model is spreading everywhere because it works. It increases conversion up front and revenue at the end. Now here's another factor: margin protection. In an uncertain economy, businesses are focused on protecting margins more than ever, and surcharges are a direct way to do that. Instead of absorbing higher costs, companies pass them on, but in a way that feels less direct. You'll often see labels like fuel surcharge, service fee, processing fee, convenience fee. These names make the charge feel justified, almost like it's tied to a specific cost. And sometimes it is, but often it's also about maintaining profitability without raising core prices. Now let's talk about consumer behavior. Customers have changed too. They are more price sensitive. They compare more options. They look for deals. So businesses are walking a fine line. They want to maintain revenue, but they don't want to scare customers away. Surcharges help manage that balance. They keep the advertised price competitive, while still allowing companies to capture additional revenue. Now here's where things get even more interesting. Technology is making this easier. Online platforms allow businesses to add fees dynamically, different fees for different locations. different fees for different times, different fees based on demand. This is similar to dynamic pricing, but applied to fees instead of base prices. And as systems become more advanced, this approach becomes more common. Now let's zoom out. What we're seeing is a shift in pricing philosophy, from simple pricing to layered pricing. Instead of one number, you have multiple components, base price plus fees. And that changes how customers experience transactions, because the final price is no longer obvious at the beginning. It's revealed step by step. Now, this strategy has advantages for businesses, but it also creates frustration for customers, because people don't like surprises. They don't like feeling like the real cost is hidden. And that's why we're starting to see pushback. Some regulators are looking at junk fees. Some companies are experimenting with all-in pricing, because there's a trade-off: short-term revenue gains versus long-term trust. And trust matters. Now let's talk about why this feels sudden. Surcharges didn't appear overnight. They existed before. But what changed is the scale. More industries are adopting them. More businesses are relying on them. And customers are encountering them more frequently. So it feels like a sudden shift, even though it's been building over time. And that brings us to the bigger picture. Surcharges are not just about fees. They're a symptom of something larger, an environment where costs are rising, competition is intense, and businesses are trying to stay profitable without losing customers. So instead of changing one thing, they're changing how pricing works altogether. And once that shift happens, it tends to stick, because it gives companies more control, more flexibility, and more ways to manage uncertainty. So when you ask why surcharges are suddenly everywhere in America, the answer is not just because businesses want more money. It's because the rules of pricing have changed, and companies are adapting in real time. The real question now is, will customers accept this new normal, or push back hard enough to change it again? Because that's what will determine whether surcharges stay everywhere or start disappearing just as quickly as they arrived.